Welcome to Audiorama on Delectora. Make yourself comfortable, listen, and enjoy this audiobook. Embark on a transformative journey with The Magic Path of Intuition by Florence Scovel Shinn.
Lesson 1. The Magic Faith of Intuition. Prayer is when you call upon God, and intuition is when God calls upon you. True prayer means preparation, having made your demands on the universal supply, for anything good. Act immediately as if you expect to receive it, show active faith, thus impressing the subconscious mind with expectation. There was a lady who knew the law of preparedness, and bought expensive magazines, to give herself the feeling of opulence. Intuition told her to buy the magazines. One way to cultivate intuition is that before you go to sleep, you say the following: "In the morning I will know what to do." The ideas will turn to ashes before you start to reason. Intuition comes from your superconscious mind. It is God within you. The subconscious is simply power without direction, what you feel deeply or what you say with feeling, if it is imprinted in the subconscious, and carried out in the smallest detail. It is your soul and must be restored. Imprint in the subconscious the perfect ideas of the superconscious mind, instead of the doubts and fears of the conscious mind. Do this by repeating an affirmation. Be still and see the power in me. By following intuition, you often go for one thing and get another. From the superconscious, the realm of intuition will reveal to you what you need to know. Be very calm, and do affirmations. You have no need for resentment, resistance, fear, or any form of worry, etc. The situation you resent will be removed. Be still, maintain balance, and the power within will fight your battle. Anger and resentment cloud your vision, and often affect your eyesight, preventing you from following your intuitive clues. For example, you meet a friend on the street, and you say cheerfully, "What wonderful weather we are having." She replies, "Yes, but you look rather tired." Then you reply with feeling, making your first false step, "Oh, no, I have never felt more rested in my life." Then she retorts, "Well, maybe you look bad, because you're wearing a hat that looks so bad on you." Filled with resentment, you run home to look in the mirror, to see what was wrong with the hat. The back of your neck hurts, because your mental attitude has caused a congestion there. That's where the slang expression comes from, "the back of my neck hurts." Now you are about to catch a cold, or worse. Immediately invoke the law of forgiveness, send love and goodwill to your friend, and say, "Oh, power from above, give me another chance. This time I will not argue, I will be non-resistant, loving, and kind." Now you have neutralized the congestion, and the ills that go with it. The next time you meet your friend, you will be full of goodwill, and you won't really care whether she likes it or not. Then you will say, "What a beautiful day." And she will reply, "How beautiful you look, where did you get that nice hat?" It's not an emotional response to a situation, you're done with her. Otherwise, you will live the same experience over and over again. Poise is the pearl of great price. The game of life is a game of boomerangs, so whatever you send out will come back. Jesus said, "Do unto others what you would have them do unto you." You can't hurt anyone without hurting yourself. We are all bound together by a mysterious magnetic force. What you send out in word or thought against another will have repercussions on yourself. If a person is purely on the mental plane, sukarma or return, it will take longer. If he is spiritually developed, he returns very quickly. The more you know, the more responsible you are. So learn your lessons, and be thorough with the long path of experience. Send goodwill to your apparent enemy, and you will surround yourself with a great aura of protection. Your enemies are only those of your own mind, your subconscious beliefs. If you hate and resent a situation, you have stuck it to yourself, because you attract what you fear or dislike. When someone has been unfair to you, you are filled with anger and resentment. You cannot forgive that person. Time passes, and another person does the same thing. That is because you have an image of injustice engraved in your subconscious. History will repeat itself until you think you are cursed by misfortune and injustice. There is only one way to neutralize it. Don't be bothered at all by the injustice, and send goodwill to all involved. Affirm, my goodwill is now a strong tower around me. I change all enemies into harmony, and all injustice into justice. You will be surprised how the law works. One of my students brought harmony out of chaos in her business affairs, using the above statement, just as the alchemists of old transmuted all base metals into gold. You have the power to transform evil into good. Therefore I say to you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Lesson 2, Getting Financially Comfortable. Gratitude is the law of increase, and complaint is the law of decrease. The material attitude towards money is to trust your salary, your income and your investments, which can decrease overnight. The spiritual attitude is to trust God for your supply, keep your positions, and always realize that they are the manifestation of God. If one door closes, immediately another one opens. Money is a symbol of freedom, and is part of the divine plan. There is an invisible supply that you can draw upon, it is the bank of imagination. When demonstrating prosperity or other blessings, first say your word, affirm this statement, God is my supply, and now great and happy financial surprises are coming to me. Do something to demonstrate your faith, for faith without works dies. Buy a new purse or wallet by saying, this is my magic purse, to hold the money that the universe sends me. It will give you a sense of prosperity and expectation. Buy a new fountain pen and say, this is a magic pen to endorse me. Give away old clothes that make you feel poor, it will drag you down. This is the true prayer, which means preparation. Now you feel that you have already received on the invisible plane, manifestation will come under grace. Things must never possess you, you must possess things. Do not fear loss, or your possessions will disappear. You never really possess that which you fear to lose, and if you do not appreciate a blessing, it does not impress itself upon your subconscious, and it will vanish from your life. For example, a lady possessed beautiful pearls, and had great wealth, but always spoke of lack, repeatedly saying, someday I will have to eat those pearls. Now her fortune has vanished, and the pearls were sold to buy food and other necessities. Words and thoughts are a form of radioactivity, and do not return empty. By your words you justify yourself, and by your words you condemn yourself. Count your blessings, it is the law of increase. Be grateful for what you have and you will attract more. Always be grateful. Gratitude is the law of increase, and complaint is the law of decrease. Be continually grateful for what you have, and for the manifestations of the invisible supply. The following affirmation has given wonderful results. I give thanks because the universe is my supply, and I am now linked with endless streams of steady money, and ready under the grace of perfect forms. Another good affirmation is, I shall not want, for my supply precedes me. Faith must become a habit. No matter how much money you have, if you feel poor, you begin to lose money. Nothing comes into your life uninvited. You are always inviting poverty or prosperity, through the quality of your thoughts. Now is the appointed time, today is the day of my incredible luck. Silently affirm throughout the day, an affirmation of truth, to counteract negative thoughts. When money goes out, it touches a hidden spring, which releases large sums of money to come back to me, under the grace of a miraculous way. This does not mean that you throw money away, or spend without control, it means that you are not afraid to follow your intuitive clues, to spend or give. For example, a woman had the intuition to give $100 to a friend who had helped her a lot. Shortly after, she received $1,000 from an unexpected source. Do not be afraid to make large demands to the bank of faith and trust in the company of the universe, but you cannot attract more than you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable with millions, millions will feel comfortable with you. Financial freedom is God's idea for man. What God has done before, He can do for me and more. Don't look back or lament the hard times, or you will be dragged back into those conditions. Give thanks for the dawning of a new day. You must be immune to all discouragement, and to adverse appearances. Affirm, the tide has turned to stay, because the universe has a right to it. Then your barns will be filled with abundance. Lesson 3, the magical path of intuition. What you see with your inner eye, you find sooner or later on the outside. Awake you who sleep, all that you desire or require is already in your path, but you must be awake to your good, to bring it into manifestation. Affirm, the power within sweeps from my mind and body, all matters that are not divinely planned, and sets my house in order now and forever. The word sweep gives an image of action. This spiritual broom sweeps away all belief in lack, loss, failure, resentment, disharmony, sadness, and so on. You are asleep for your own good while these negative thoughts are cluttering your mental house. You resent someone, so you give that person the power to hurt you. You feel you are a failure, so you miss the opportunity for brilliant success. You are overwhelmed by a sense of loss, and you believe that friends and prosperity have disappeared from your life. You are still asleep in the dream of opposites. Wake up and you will find a new world of health, wealth, and happiness, with all your heart's desires fulfilled. This is possible thanks to your word, because your word is your magic wand. When you are in the deepest despair, it is time to wave your word over the situation. Baptize every failure by saying, success. Never let the third dimension interfere with the fourth. The third dimension is the world of adverse appearances. It is the fog in which most people live. Your affirmation dispels the fog and the sun comes out. Affirm, now the sun rises in my mind and in my body, and I see clearly the fulfillment of my heart's desire. Your gloomy desires are mournfully answered, your impatient desires are long delayed, or violently fulfilled. You long for flowers and say, poor me, no one ever sends them to me. One day you are walking down the street, and a pot of geraniums hits you on the head. They are your flowers, but they are not under grace in a perfect way. You should have said, I give thanks because my flowers come from the universe, under grace in a perfect way. Then they would have been received, through the right channels. This is the law of nature, use or lose. Hoarding and saving always leads to loss. Use what you have and you will have more. If you save for a rainy day, or for a case of sickness, they will surely come. Use the money you have freely, but wisely, knowing that your invisible supply is always at hand. Soon the law of accumulation will be set in motion, abundance will come and accumulate. Never say, I am broke, because that impresses the subconscious with an image of emptiness. The game of life is a game of solitaire. As you change, so do your affairs change. Affirm, I am now immune to all hurts and frustrations. Inner power is perfect peace and perfect balance. A student once told me that her mother always made a scene at parties at her sister's house. The mother said, I never want to have dinner in this house again. The next year, she was in the hospital. The student visited her and the mother said, God has sent me this test, so I will bear it with patience. The student replied, Mother, God has not sent you this illness, you have brought it on yourself with your angry words. You said you didn't want to go back to Hannah's house for dinner, and here you are. The mother replied, Leave me alone, I prefer my old God, who sends trials and tribulations. The student asked her to think constructively, while she was in the hospital, to see herself, walking into Hannah's house happy and cheerful. The mother did so, and recovered within a few weeks, to the surprise of the doctors. What you see with your inner eye, which is the faculty of imagination, you find sooner or later in the outer. So see clearly your goodness, your health, your success and your happiness, if you want them to come true. Faith always bears fruit. I am often asked why it is easier to see failure than success, unhappiness than happiness. It has to do with our early upbringing, which used to be negative. When good things happened, people would exclaim, "This is too good to be true." Millions of people have neutralized their good with this attitude. You are responsible for your idle words, which impress the subconscious, and are carefully carried out. Affirm, I see vividly my immediate and endless supply, coming from a higher power, and all doors are open, all channels are free. I see vividly my radiant, perfect and permanent health. I see vividly, my heart's desires come true, in the twinkling of an eye. Do not visualize or force an image, it will appear in your consciousness from the superconscious. A powerful affirmation is, the light of lights flows through my mind, body and affairs, revealing all in divine order. I see clearly, that there are no obstacles in my way. I see clearly, the open path of realization. It is also important to have a happy environment. No gloomy pictures. Keep your desk in order, and have fresh blotting paper handy. There is nothing like fresh blotting paper to attract big checks. A tidy conscience is a rich conscience. A London newspaper told the story of some African chiefs who toured the city. Nothing impressed them until they saw the subway and an escalator. They were immediately fascinated and exclaimed, "Ah, the ground walks." He states, "Now I am on the ground that walks, which takes me directly to my promised land, in a magical way." Do not sing sad songs to your subconscious, and impress it with what you feel deeply. Your word is your magic wand. Nothing is too good to be true, nothing is too wonderful to happen, or too good to last. Order is the first law of heaven. Lesson 4. How to break with old ways of thinking. No one keeps you from your good but yourself. A negative idea, which you continually think about, will create a thought form in your subconscious. These thought forms will find their way into your life until you neutralize them. If you are full of suspicion, you will soon find what you seek, what you fear. You attract it, and nothing can save you, until you neutralize your fears. Act without fear, and take on the lions in your path. Your fears will be externalized in concrete experiences. Affirm, I give thanks for my success. Whirlwind, I sweep everything before me, because I work with the Spirit, and I follow the divine plan for my life. The decks are clear for divine action. This statement is very strong, because it brings a feeling of tremendous power. The old thought forms dissolve, and the divine idea of success takes their place. Do not call someone poor, if you do not want to be magnetized by it. The human mind is powerless to cope with these negative thoughts. Victory is won by the God within the superconscious mind. Affirm, I am magnetized by the universe. I have and possess from today and forever, all that is mine by divine right. In the story of Cinderella, her stepmother and stepsisters were the thought forms, which she had built into her consciousness. Almost everyone has a cruel stepmother in their subconscious, which prevents them from doing good, what is often called inferiority complex. The fairy godmother appears to tell her that she can go to the ball and have the things she wants. The fairy godmother is the superconscious mind, the inner God, with whom everything is possible. Cinderella loses her glass slipper, and gets her wish, her prince. Your fears turn you into a galley slave, so invoke the power within, to set you free. Affirm, everything is possible here and now. Now I reach the seemingly unattainable. Embark on a journey, often break with old ways of thinking, as it involves a change of scenery and environment. New thoughts. People travel many miles with the intention of making some kind of cure, and come back a different person. People who come to Vicky and Carlsbad benefit enormously, because they leave their worries behind. The natives are left with fears, and receive no benefit. Don't build a thought form of envy, it keeps you out of the promised land. Yours. You build yourself a prison. No one keeps you out of your good, but yourself. A thought form of self-pity is one of the most dangerous thought forms you can have. The more you feel sorry for yourself, the worse things will get. Stay above the worry belt of consciousness. And then you will have instant manifestations. Your success, happiness, or abundance will happen in the blink of an eye. Do not let your heart be restless or afraid. Lesson 5. Health and happiness. A harmonious person never vibrates at the same rate as a germ. Health and happiness go hand in hand. Poor health is caused by disharmony. A teacher says never ask a student, "What is wrong with you?" Ask him, "Who is the matter with you?" As long as someone can cause you anger, resentment, irritability, sadness, etc., a harmful reaction occurs in the cells of your body, which leads to some kind of disease. For example, a woman had $200 taken from her unjustly. I told her to bless the person responsible, not to get angry, and to take the $200 out of the universal reserve. Because if one door closes, another one opens. She said she could not, and from these negative thoughts, a judgment of evils arose. She wondered why I had brought that situation. I replied, "But you have always had a tight control of money, you have counted every penny, and you have saved and economized, when you have had the intuition to spend or give. Saving is a good idea, but you can't do it, because you are violating the law of use. Then come the karmic reactions, and you have a deficit detachment, which annihilates the money, which you should have kept in circulation. Often, the avalanche of losses comes from violating intuition. Lack and loss affect the blood, as do financial headaches. Continued criticism and blaming produce acid deposits in the blood, leading to rheumatism. Hatred and resentment generate a poison in the system, which ends up producing diseases. To pass suddenly, from despair to joy, produces a chemical change in the organism. Fear and despair produce congestion and disease, while joy releases the proper circulation, and health is restored. Now is the appointed time, today is the day of amazing prosperity. This statement would bring an immediate change in the affairs of the world. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, as is success or failure, and lack or plenty, because words and thoughts are a form of radioactivity. Man must learn to take from the universal supply, for this will remove all poverty and limitation, which are states of mind. We live in a great sea of magnetic force, called mental matter, which continually takes the form of man's desires. The body can be reshaped by treatment, which is a clear vision and an affirmation. I once told a patient to see herself, bathed in the dazzling white light of the Spirit, which dissolves all that is not divinely planned. See yourself, bathed daily in the dazzling light of lights, and age will not register in the cells of your body. Do not be downcast or sad, because the joy of the Lord is your strength. Joy brings new strength, vigor and vitality. Worry and fear tear the cells of the body. Many healthy people have become a bundle of nerves because of losing money, and their hair turns prematurely gray in a short time. People who have knowledge of spiritual truth go through great financial losses, always watching and feeling on the crest of the wave, being unperturbed by the appearance of loss. The money was restored. For example, a woman came to see me who had lost $30,000 when an investor used the money for himself. The lawyer told her she would never get it back. I told her to bless the man, and forgive him, but to reclaim the $30,000 from the abundance of spheres. If one door closes, another opens. And I added, never feel sorry for yourself, and do all you can to continue to feel rich. And so she did. Friends who met her on the street said, we don't need to ask you how you are, you look like $1 million. A few months later, the miracle happened, she recovered her money. He had continued to vibrate with success and prosperity, and it could not stop coming to him. A discouraged and disharmonious person will catch a cold. A cheerful and fearless person will be immune to germs. For example, a woman goes out in the street when it is cold, dressed in evening clothes, but she feels very comfortable, because she feels that she looks good, and is full of illusion for a happy evening. If the same woman is dressed inappropriately, or in a bad mood, she will return complaining of a cold and discomfort, and the next day she will have a cough. A harmonious person never vibrates at the same rate as a germ. Fear and resentment affect the view, and stubbornness and strong personal, the ear. If you feel dull, discouraged or apathetic, do something to cheer yourself up, which means changing your vibration, and continually repeat this affirmation, a wonderful joy is on its way, and this wonderful joy is coming to stay. A person with a torrid liver is always sad and depressed. He thinks that it is the liver which gives him this negative mental attitude, but it is quite the opposite, as he is the problem of his liver. What affects the liver is condemnation, overdiscrimination, blaming, caution, pity, vain remorse and jealousy. Surely you may wonder why a person should not be discriminating and cautious. If he is ruled by discrimination and caution, he is not listening to his intuitive guidance, which often sends him a direction against which his reasoning mind reveals itself. The liver is a very sensitive organ, and is quickly affected by wrong thinking, so the ancients call it liver, i.e., the place where they live anger, fear, cruel thoughts, and so on. They affect the heart. A good affirmation to use is the following: the light of lights flows through my mind, body and affairs, revealing all in divine order. My heart is a happy heart, a fearless heart, a forgiving heart, a kind heart in its right place, doing its right work. Skin diseases are caused by mental irritation. Someone has gotten under your skin. Instantaneous healings often occur in this way, due to a sudden realization of the truth. Your body, in reality, is a spiritual body, incorruptible and indestructible, timeless and tireless, without birth or death. When all negative thinking is erased, you will be enveloped in your body of light, and sadness and sighing will have passed, and death itself will have been vanquished. Do not feel dejected or sad, because the joy of the Lord is your strength. Lesson 6. Bring the future into the now. You must live fully in the now, to make your dreams come true. Time and space are but a dream. Man must bring his future into the hour. The blessings that seem so far in the future are already prepared for you, waiting for you to believe in the manifestation. For example, a student wished for a watch. I told him to believe that he had already received it, and he soon received it from a friend. Realization is manifestation. You ask how you can get rid of doubts and fears, which prevent realization. The answer is by taking an affirmation, which gives you a sense of security and satisfaction. If you are afraid of a big dog, say to him, "Go away, show off." Courts, fears and adverse appearances are, no doubt, big bluffs. A man who was continually worrying, who found it impossible to stop his worrying thoughts, took out his watch, and said he would worry for half an hour. To his surprise, he found that it was impossible to worry, because he had put into operation the law of non-resistance. He asked for the universal supply, and sighed, "I will not get it." The successful man walks to the rhythm of the hidden music, with the beat in his thoughts. All traffic goes in his direction. He has strokes of luck, without luck and without rhythm. He states, the tide has turned to stay, because God has the right of way. He has turned the tide, brings joy and abundance. You have had the right of way. This makes your future, is in the now. Show your active faith, to change your course. Some people always live in the future, daydreaming, and never catch up with the now. One brother had a great vision, and went to a big city, where he connected with opportunities, which brought him fame and fortune. The other was dedicated to telling what he would do, when he got $1 million, but never went beyond his rural audience. You must live fully in the now, for your dreams to come true, but always make sure, that you are dreaming according to the divine plan. There is a divine design of your life, in your subconscious mind. So, unless the divine dreams the dream, in vain work those who dream it. Affirm, let the divine design of my life, be reflected in my conscious mind. Let me see clearly the perfect plan. The conscious mind must be redeemed from its erroneous thinking by giving it the right ideas to work from the subconscious. You may desire something that is not in the divine plan, and find yourself continually blocked in its manifestation, or if you get it, it only brings you unhappiness and misfortune. Health, wealth, love and perfect self-expression are the essence of life, and are meant for each individual, but the path of manifestation belongs to the great designer. For example, the store sends 2 sweaters, instead of the one the customer had ordered. She chose one that she had not selected at first, and liked it much better. After that, she gladly left the selection of everything in life, to the infinite intelligence. The universal power is in my boat, and now I sail fearlessly, in unknown seas. Many people are afraid of new adventures, panic, at the thought of doing something different, even if the old conditions are unbearable. Sail happily in unknown seas, reach your promised land. People get exhausted doing the same thing over and over again. Have an interesting recreation, to use a new set of neurons. To be successful, the element of playfulness must enter into what you are doing. Let the ideal be the only reality in your life, then obstacles and hindrances will fade away, as they do not bother you. The spirit is the pure intelligence, to which man turns, to attune himself to himself. Do not limit yourself to a single radio station of life, tune in to the infinite intelligence. Look with wonder at what is before you, with the fixed idea that your supply comes from infinite intelligence. You will always be provided for, in both the big and the small. The big things of life will come easily, if you have no doubts or fears. So live fully today, and bring your future into the now. Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are already white for harvest. Lesson 7. The house that faith built. Faith is simply knowing that God can do all things. Hebrews 11:10 says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. This is a scientific statement, because as we live in a sea of magnetic force, called mental substance, what we imagine, is imprinted on those sensitive substances, and crystallizes sooner or later in the external. The experiences one encounters in life are one's own creations. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, a man's life is the story of his fears. Why not make it the story of your faith? So that one day you can say, this is the health that faith built. This is the wealth that faith built. This is the success and happiness that faith built. Doubts and fears are sin, because they imprint negative images in the mind, and make shortcomings, limitations or disasters occur. Have faith in the affirmations you use. Never use an affirmation that does not have a sense of security. Faith is like the Gulf Stream, a river flowing through the ocean. Faith brings warmth, and will change conditions for you. For example, a woman came to me with the appearance of a fleshly growth, which was quite noticeable and long-standing, but she had perfect faith that she could be healed. Weeks went by without any apparent change, but she would say, "I have perfect faith that God is doing his perfect work." One day, she suddenly disappeared. Her friends were astonished, and said to her, "You had better go to the doctor, to see what has happened." She replied, "I am perfectly fine. God has done his perfect work." Faith is simply knowing that God can do it. Every unpleasant condition in your life is the result of a lack of faith. A student obtained several $1,000s, after years of deprivation, but his first act was driven by fear, not faith. He bought a lot of shoes, just in case he ran out of money again. His motive was wrong. Watch your own motives with all diligence, for on them depends life. If his motive had been simply the desire to have many shoes, it would have been constructive, but in reality, it was a preparation for loss. Therefore, he soon had many shoes, but no money. Many people hold back their manifestations, worrying about evildoers. Someone is evil, someone is unjust or cruel. Resentment is a violation of the law of love, of goodwill, and is a barrier to your desires. Trust in the Lord and do good. It means never to doubt the power of God. Trust in the infinite intelligence to manage your things. Never interfere with doubts or worries, and let every act be driven by good motives. Follow your intuitive impulses, and prepare yourself for the blessings you have asked for, regardless of adverse appearances. True prayer means preparation. For example, a lady wanted a radio, so she made a place for it in a corner, and kept it clean of dust. If your manifestation is delayed, it is that you have not dusted it. The explorer and adventurer in you will pull you through. It is your divine self, the superconscious, who knows neither defeat nor failure. With fearless faith, the mountains recede into your subconscious, and thus disappear into the outer. The lions in your path will not be able to harm you, when you turn to the universal power for protection, and send goodwill to the lions. You can never receive what you do not see yourself receiving, because everything comes through you, not to you. An athlete said, he was working on his long jump. He was lying down watching a victory. A person with success consciousness is someone who does not know he is a failure, even when he fails. His vision of success is strong, and is not affected by adverse conditions. He remains in active tension. Faith states, "I am wide awake for my own good, I never miss a trick." Often, we have heard people say that certain things are bad for our health, but we have never heard them say that other things are bad for wealth. Broken chairs, clutter, etc. are bad for wealth, because they keep us in a bad vibration. One man told me, he had brought order to his life, by tidying up his desk. He threw away old letters, pieces of string, and faded ink pens, and kept in boxes papers, which were important to him. External conditions changed, and a new world opened up before him, of order and prosperity. As you change your consciousness, change all the conditions around you. Do not neglect the day of small things, for small beginnings have great endings. According to your faith, it shall be done unto you. Lesson 8. Do not let your heart's desire become a disease of the heart. Every trial is a process of purification. Many people do not receive their heart's desire because they desire it too intensely. They long for it, instead of feeling that they have already received it. If they believe that before they call, they have already been answered, then they would be quite free of worries and anxiety, and would live with joy the moment. When you can be happy, with or without your heart's desire, it will suddenly appear, because your ship will come in a sea of never mind. Be happy and something will happen. Feel rich, and the wealth will manifest outwardly. All suffering is a spiritual awakener. You have been asleep about something, maybe you have been unfair, unforgiving, ungrateful, critical, or intolerant. Maybe you've been afraid to follow an intuitive lead. Suddenly, the meat factories start running, because the way of the transgressor is hard. For example, you condemned someone, and now someone condemns you. You were unjust, and now someone is unjust to you. You were intolerant, and someone is intolerant of you, and so on. Now you are awake and, instead of blaming people or circumstances for your unhappiness, you look back to see why you brought the situation on yourself. Someone you disliked hurt you, but you gave that person the power to hurt you, because you denied them love and goodwill. Your own poisoned arrows have come back to you. Now invoke the law of forgiveness, and affirm the affirmation, I invoke the law of forgiveness. I am free from error. I am under grace, and not under karmic law. Forgive the person or persons who have wronged you, sending them love and goodwill, saying, I forgive them. Then, as in a kaleidoscope, the whole situation changes, for love is the fulfillment of the law. Your apparent enemies are transmuted into friends, and serve, consciously and unconsciously, the divine plan of your life. Tolerance is learned through suffering. If your unhappy experiences make you bitter and resentful, you will attract more of the same variety. Take advantage of your karma, so that the experiences are not repeated. Fear of the law is the beginning of wisdom. One day, I was in the toy section of a crowded store, and a little boy was in front of a huge bear, who moved his head up and down, and looked quite fierce. A stranger leaned over to him, and asked him, Little boy, aren't you afraid of that big bear? He answered, No, madam, bears do not bite good children. His conscience was clear, and he was not afraid. To receive the heart's desire, one must erase all karma, as well as anxiety, impatience and fear. In the law, we are told to wait patiently. Patience means non-resistance. Practice non-resistance to the law, and it will make your wish come true. I heard a man say, the good Lord takes his time, he is the only man you can't rush. It came to me as a direct message, for I had become impatient, and was trying to force a manifestation. Suddenly I realized that the more patient, in parentheses, not resistant, I was, the faster the universe responded. Soon the manifestation came, over a calm sea. People often withhold the demonstration of their good, delineating happy channels. The man who believes in infinite intelligence, knows the way to realization. For example, a woman had a commercial enterprise, which she wished to develop. She tried every avenue she could think of, but no one was interested enough to help her. She didn't resist, and put it in the hands of the universe, saying, I'll let the universe take care of this. I'll let it go. She was visiting in a distant city, and met a woman, apparently by chance, who asked her if she could undertake the enterprise. The universe is eternal, reliable and unchanging, but you have to give way to it. Personal will keeps you out of your own realm. For example, a friend came to tell me, she would be forced to sell a jewel for money. She did not want to sell it, and regretted that it was necessary to do so. I told her, well, this pin is not yours, it belongs to the divine spirit. Now we will place it on the altar. If it is the will of the spirit, you will sell it, if not, you will receive the money in another way. A few days later, he phoned and said, I did not have to sell the brooch. I got an unexpected check, which gave me the money I needed. She had applied this wonderful law of renunciation, so difficult for many people to understand. The desire of the heart can only be achieved through non-resistance. For example, one of my students said that the man she cared for was very cruel and indifferent. She was looking forward to spending New Year's Eve with him, when he suddenly announced that he had another engagement that night. She had tears of anger and resentment. I told him, you are completely demagnetized, therefore, you are taking the good out of it. When you see him, don't get angry or reproach him for anything, bless him and tell him you wish him a happy evening. She did this, to his surprise. He could not understand her change of attitude. The next day, he telephoned her, and asked if he could spend New Year's Eve with her. He said nothing more about his previous plans. At one of my Oneness Society meetings, I discussed the following treatment: to dissolve all anger and resentment, the light of infinite intelligence flows through your consciousness, dissolving and dissipating all anger and resentment. You are at peace with yourself and the whole world. One woman told me after the meeting that she felt enveloped in a fiery light, which swept all discord from her consciousness forever. She said to me, "When you were speaking, I realized that I had lost everything I had ever loved because of anger. But now I feel that I can never be angry again." It was a wonderful experience. Many people think that if they can control their temper, or not show their anger, it is enough. It's not like that, the vibration comes out anyway. As long as you can move inward, there will be discord in your life. You must be clean, to be free of anger and its effects. Don't let appearances rock your boat. I had a patient who once said, "I should have been angry, but I wasn't. I should have been afraid, but I wasn't. I should have been afraid, but I wasn't. I should have been angry. I should have been afraid, but I was not. I should have been angry, but I wasn't." This showed spiritual growth. In your subconscious, there are negative things and beliefs, imprinted on it, by your many life experiences. Therefore, it must be renewed, flooding it with the perfect ideas of the superconscious, your divine self. The goal is love, and goodwill towards all. I met a man who said to me, "Of course I love everybody, but there are many people I don't like." I replied, "No, you still have some stains of ill will on your conscience. You will have to go back to the dry cleaners. Every test is a process of purification. When they do not affect us, we do not attract them." I have a friend who says that whenever she needs money, she gets into a cab to feel rich. One stormy and slushy day, she received a definite tip for a cab. She told me, "I argued with my rich heavenly Father, and I said, 'God, I'd rather save the dollar and the meter.' So I got my way and took the subway, but when I got home I found I had lost $1. The most expensive thing is to violate a hunch. If the money is not used for the right purposes, it will go somewhere uninteresting or unhappy. The moment you make your request, the infinite spirit knows the path of fulfillment. Only doubt, fear or reasoning, keep your good away. Live fully in the wonderful now, with joyful expectation, knowing that God is the how, God is the when, and God is the where. You must respond to every negative thought, with a word of authority. If you entertain them or pay attention to them, the army of strangers will encamp in your consciousness. Your doubts, fears and resentments will settle in, bringing a harvest of misfortunes. A good affirmation is, "I am one with the Almighty Spirit, I am one with my good, for the Spirit is my good in me. For the Spirit is my good in immediate action." Your blessing is already here, waiting for you to believe that it is possible to get it. Worry and fear will keep you from it. Sometimes a manifestation comes through an irritating counter. One student told me that he had wished for a certain venture to be a success. He became anxious and worried about it. Then something else came into her life to worry her, which completely took her thoughts away from the business. He forgot to worry about it. Suddenly, he received a phone message that the business had closed, followed by a large check. She had diverted her worrisome thoughts long enough for the business to close. When you have completely discarded your worries, there will be nothing to interfere with the immediate manifestation of every good and perfect gift. For your heart's desire is no longer a disease of the heart. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Lesson 9. Infinite Intelligence, the Great Magician. When you realize that time and space are but a dream, you live suspended in the moment, and time can never touch you. Magic and miracle come from the same root word. It is good to go see a magician, from time to time, to realize that things suddenly emerge, seemingly out of nowhere. Of course, with the magician it is a trick. From his hats come out rabbits and ducks, from his sleeve a fish tank. Now we must realize that, with infinite intelligence, the seemingly impossible can become reality. The universal power, the great magician, transforms a curse into a blessing, despair into joy, lack into abundance, sickness into health, etc. There is no limit, for the good that God has prepared for man, only doubt or unbelief extinguish the power within each man. However, faith revives the power, so it is necessary to do everything possible to develop faith in that power. Sometimes, a new affirmation or a new idea will suddenly give you the realization, which is the manifestation. In one of my classes I explained that you need to become like a little child to be a good manifester, and introduce the element of play. Then I said, let us consider the universal power as the great magician, and let us pull out of his hat whatever we want or need. This eliminates all questioning as to the channel, we simply see the giver of the gift. One of those present worked in real estate and, a few days later, his company asked him to locate a 7-story building in a particular neighborhood for a client. It seemed impossible to find what he wanted, and he became discouraged. Then he thought of the great magician's hat, closed his eyes and said, now I draw from the great magician's hat, the right 7-story building, in the right place. Very soon he entered the building that was right, in every way. Be wide awake for your sake, and let every event of the day teach you something. For example, I had taken my watch to the jewelry store to have it repaired, and after waiting a month, they gave it back to me, but wasting 10 minutes a day. I was a little upset when I put it on my wrist, and it fell off my hand onto the wooden floor. At that moment, meek and without resisting, I exclaimed, I baptize it as a success. You saw the chapter entitled, The Law of Non-Resistance, in the Game of Life and How to Play It. I picked it up and it was still ticking, so I put it on and went out. The next day, the watch was still running normally and, to my surprise, it was telling time perfectly. By the fall, it had regulated itself. So, if you have a bump of any kind, know that you are regulating yourself, and you will come out of it much improved. The person who resists and resents will have to be regulated many times. Your supply is always with you, as it is prepared well in advance. The following is a very good affirmation, reveal to me the storehouse of the great magician. Now I put on the glasses of the spiritual field. You have the spiritual field glasses, which bring the distant blessings very close to you. With these field glasses, you see avalanches of checks, bills and coins. You see health, happiness, success, etc. Do not visualize, let the divine ideas enter your conscious mind. Now you are linking with your invisible supply, which manifests outwardly, through the awareness of having received. Worry, doubt and fear fog your spiritual field glasses. They must be continually cleansed, with fresh inspiration and faith. Perhaps a friend's faith in you, have faith in yourself. There is always some way to recharge yourself like a battery and, suddenly, the divine plan will unfold right at your feet, because the ground you walk on is harvest ground. All unhappiness comes from not being able to see your good clearly. So if you are assailed by doubts and fears, do something immediately to demonstrate your faith. A woman came to tell me about her perfect house. She lived in a small room in a hotel, and she was discouraged. So I told her to dig a ditch, to do something to show her faith. She came back one day with a long package, and she said to me, "Bless you." I asked him, "What is it?" He replied, "A carving knife, it's something I have no use for in a hotel." So his active faith, which is preparation, opened the way to his divinely designed home. Life is a stage, on which you demonstrate that infinite intelligence is your defense, your deliverance, and your immediate and inexhaustible supply, of all good. If you say you are going to do a thing, and then do not attend to it, it will be done for you violently, when you least expect it. For example, I had a belt of ribbons on a dress, with long streamers ending in tassels. One of the streamers seemed too long to me, and I kept telling myself, I have to shorten that tassel. But I never did. As they say in the country, one day I was climbing into the top seat of a bus, when I felt a tug and a tear. I looked down, and the tassel had ripped off, leaving just the length I intended it to be. It was an unimportant experience, but it taught me not to say I was going to do a thing, and then not do it. Don't despise the day of the little things. A woman told me the following story, which demonstrates the reality of her invisible supply. It was the beginning of spring, and she wanted apple trees in bloom. She left in her car to go to the nearest farmer. She went to one after another, and each farmer told her it was too early for apple trees in bloom. Undaunted, he made one last attempt. He drove to the next farm to ask, and got the same answer. He looked at the orchard and exclaimed, "Wow, there are flowers on one of those trees." The farmer replied, "Those flowers came out after your arrival here. Trust in God, and the seemingly impossible will come true." I knew a man, who at 60 years old was broke, and at 76 was earning $30,000 a year. He said that his success came to him after he stopped worrying, which was after he was broke. His new ships of success came in a carefree sea. Time will register in your body and in your affairs, as long as you believe in it. When you realize that time and space are but a dream, you live suspended in the moment, and time will never touch you. This is the consciousness of those who have become ascended masters. Jesus Christ said in the world of the three dimensions, you will have tribulation. But be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. He had overcome the world, the thought of lack, limitation and death itself, and realized the ascension. Jesus blessed the fish, and immediately came the increase, because he had the unshakable conviction that the infinite inner intelligence performed the work. He taught it to his disciples and to the people. He did not claim more for himself than for others. After 2,000 years, we realize the amazing simplicity of his teachings. I have often said that most people look too much into his demonstrations, trying to force a channeling or speculating about the results of each move. There are 3 simple rules to take advantage of all the tricks in the game of life: speak the word, follow your hunches, and dig your ditches. This will keep you busy, living with the wonderful now, and you won't limit the universe by looking for channels. In one of my classes, we brought up the old proverb, the watched pot never boils. One of the students said, we should have a kettle that would serve, and we should not have to watch it when it boils. It whistles at you, the same as your manifestation will whistle at you, when it is ready, and when you are ready for it. Many people ask for conditions, which they would not be big enough to handle. You have to grow into your manifestation. Your heart's desire is ripe, but you are green. I have known women who were full of doubts, fears and suspicions, who asked for perfect love and companionship. They appeared in their lives for a short time, but then it ended tragically, because old fears and suspicions were stronger than love and faith. Your good must be built on the rock of a fearless faith. Ideals will come true if they are held without wavering. It is useless to say that we have faith, and then act in the opposite direction. Action impresses the subconscious, and if you run away from a situation, it will run after you. The only way to neutralize fear is to approach what you fear. Self-pity is one of the deadly sins. Woe is me is the worst statement you can make, because it isolates you from the inner power, and you will have more and more reasons to pity yourself. I give the example of a woman who came to me feeling abandoned and excluded from all the good things in life. I gave her the affirmation, there is nothing too good for me. She repeated it hundreds of times and, suddenly, conditions began to change. Kind and influential friends entered her life, and new opportunities for success and prosperity opened up. Later, he was granted his heart's desire, which was to go abroad to study music. Bruce Barton says, "There is danger in regretting oneself. Go back to that infinite intelligence, the great magician, for I will make even rivers in the desert. I will compare him to a wise man, who built his house upon a rock." Lesson 10. All that the fourth dimension offers is yours. You will get magical results, when you really give this supreme intelligence the right of way. The world of the fourth dimension is the world of perfect ideas. As these ideas become established in consciousness, they must come out, because your world is crystallized thought. Most people have crystallized wrong conditions, because they have served fear, instead of faith. It takes a great effort of imagination, to believe that life can be made perfect, free from all unhappy experiences. Then, when you believe it, it takes a great effort of will, to keep believing, when all outward appearances are against it. Do not judge by appearances. All miracles are based on this idea. We can only change the conditions, if we do not believe or allow ourselves to be disturbed by appearances. To a woman who was very distressed I said, "None of these appearances deceive you." She clung to her conscience, and the divine plan for her good triumphed. We can no longer have the faith of a peasant, we must have an understanding of faith, through knowledge of spiritual law. We control the conditions by speaking. To a student who was facing a financial problem, I said, "Stand back and let God do it." She replied, "That's all there is to it," and soon a new channel was opened for her supply. Yes, that's all there is to it. Let God do it. After all your readings, and studies of metaphysics and ancient philosophy, you discover that they teach you only one thing: let God do it. Eastern philosophy says, "Let the warrior within you fight." This idea appears countless times, in all the sacred scriptures. Native American Indians believe that the Great Spirit is the source of their power. A woman visiting the Indians told me that she had interviewed an Indian who had been running all day carrying a message. She asked him if he did not feel tired. He replied, "I am not tired. The Great Spirit in me makes me run." Trusting God must become a habit, and it often takes a long time to form it. I was inspired to read in the newspaper about Omaha, the famous racehorse. The article said, "Omaha has run a mile before he picks up the pace." At one of my meetings, I said, "There are many here, who have not yet got into their spiritual rhythm, but I see them all winning their race, in the blink of an eye." Often, discontent prevents you from getting into your rhythm. You are dissatisfied with yourself, and with your conditions. You wish you were someone else. How wonderful it would be, to be a beautiful movie star, or an heiress, of countless millions. On one of my trips to London, I announced the wonderful title of a song, "I'm Dying to Be Me." The first step to success, is to rejoice in being yourself, and to know that the ground you walk on is sacred ground, and that you are expanding, in the divine plan of your life. In the divine plan, every righteous desire of the heart is fulfilled. You are the protagonist on the stage of your life. You are never left behind in the fourth dimension. The divine plan unfolds following intuition. C. Breton says, "To live intuitively is to live in the fourth dimension." The magical path takes you out of the house of bondage and into your promised land. It is the path of destiny, where your failures are transmuted into successes, and disadvantages become stepping stones. I heard the following story on the radio, which gives a wonderful example. A man who could neither read nor write, tried to get the position of janitor in a public school. He was rejected because of his illiteracy. Then a friend got him a job selling cigars. He was very successful, selling hundreds of cigars, and deposited the money in the bank, with the help of a friend, who wrote the deposit slips. After several years, he discovered that he had deposited $30,000 and decided to withdraw some. The teller told him, "Write a check for the amount you wish to withdraw." The man replied, "I can't read or write." The paying cashier was astonished, and exclaimed, "My God, man, you've accumulated $30,000 with no education. Where would you be if you could read and write?" The man replied, "I would have been a janitor in the public school number 1, on the corner of Hyde Park, in London." People are allowed to go up to the stands, gather the public and express their opinions, on any religious, political or personal subject, say what they want about the ruling family, etc. The government believes it is a good way to allow them to let off steam. In passing, I stopped to listen to a poor helpless individual, who was shouting at the top of his voice, "God does not exist, and I can prove it." I thought, you have never proved God or you wouldn't be where you are. If I had had with me a copy of The Game of Life and How to Play It, no doubt, I would have placed it over his state with a blessing. We prove God by showing an act of faith, which puts to flight all adverse appearances. There is nothing left out of the fourth dimension. I have often been asked, if infinite intelligence supplies all our needs, and why is it necessary to pray for anything? I have answered, because that is the law. Man must take the first step, he must push the button to turn on the electric light. Many people never make big requests to the universal supply, because they think it is asking too much. A woman came up to me and asked, "Is it wrong to ask for the things you really want, or should you only ask for what is necessary?" I replied, "What are the things you really want?" She said, "Love and beauty." I answered, "If you want them, they are necessary." When you have the fixed idea that there is only one power in the universe, all appearances of evil will disappear from your world. The problems come from the belief in duality, good and evil. To get a demonstration, we must know that infinite intelligence is the only power. Evil comes from the false imaginations of man. I was in a restaurant with a friend, who spilled something on her dress. She was sure it would leave a stain. I told her, "We will give you a treatment. The evil is unreal and leaves no stain." There was never the slightest stain left on the dress. There was no way of knowing where the accident had occurred. In the fourth dimension, the evil has never registered, only in his mind man experiences loss, lack, failure, disease, pain, etc. Often, people go through life resentful and disgruntled with some particular person, thus keeping alive the unhappy and harmful situation, for the mind, body and affairs. One woman came in very full of resentment towards her niece. Everything her niece did irritated her. She said to me, "All I can think about is how badly my niece cleans her silver." It seemed like a trivial matter, but it was reacting on her, in the form of rheumatism. I said, "Send her love and goodwill, and don't give her any advice. Let the infinite wisdom enlighten and direct her." To her surprise, her niece gave a wonderful shine to the silver, and changed in many ways. You will get magical results, when you really give this supreme intelligence, the right of way. The tide has turned to stay, because God has the right of way. I gave this statement, when I was speaking in California. A man in the audience came up to me after the meeting, and said, "That is a wonderful statement. I am an engineer, and I know what it means to have the right of way. Desire is a tremendous power, and it must be directed correctly. You can desire the wrong things and the wrong conditions, so, to give the supreme intelligence the right of way, you must say, 'I desire only what God desires, through me.' The wrong desire will vanish, and will be replaced by the right aspirations. When you look back, you will say, 'Thank heaven, that I did not get the things I wanted so much, when I was 18 years old. I wish I hadn't gotten the things I wanted, when I was 22". Assure yourself that your desires are infallible, saying, "I desire that divine ideas be realized, only under grace, and in a perfect manner." In The Game of Life and How to Play It, I say that health, wealth, love and perfect self-expression are the square of life. Go first to the fourth dimension, and your perfect life plan will come true. You will fill the place that no one else can fill. The righteous desires of the heart, no matter how extravagant or seemingly unattainable, will be added to you. Ask, and it shall be given you, seek, and ye shall find, knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Matthew 7:7.
As you conclude this audiobook journey, may the wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn resonate deeply within you. Trust in the magic of your intuition, and let it guide you along your path to fulfillment and abundance. Remember, you hold the power to manifest your dreams into reality. Farewell, and may your journey be filled with joy, prosperity, and endless possibilities.